Donald Trump has now taken on the founder of Fox News. That would be the Murdoch family. Lachlan, Rupert. Well, you see, the Murdochs own the Wall Street Journal, and the Wall Street Journal came out with a really tawdry, disgusting report that suggests, maybe Donald Trump had a little more to do with Epstein than you thought. And I don't buy this. And I think that this is like, I'll tell you what I think. And it goes back to my instinct. As we went into the weekend and I heard all that talent that used to be at Fox that now actually has podcasts, but those podcasts are sold by a company that Fox owns. Okay, so just hear me out for a second. It seemed like, to me, kind of like an underhanded way to try and divide MAGA. And I wondered why on earth they might be doing this. And now, as this Wall Street Journal story comes forward, I'm putting the pieces together and I'm thinking maybe there is a method to the madness. Maybe it is actually the Murdochs that are once again trying to take Donald Trump down. Look at this, Trump versus Murdoch. That's the headline there in the Daily Mail. This article that got put into, forgive me, that's one of the authors, into the Wall Street Journal just last night suggests that Donald Trump sent some letter, which, by the way, doesn't sound like him. Elon Musk even was like, this doesn't really sound like him. And apparently they didn't even have a copy of the letter. This is really weird, okay? Like, it's just really, really weird how this all came about. But apparently there's some little picture that he drew, and there's a voice saying there must be more to life than having everything. The note began, and Donald says, yes, there is, but I won't tell you what that is. And Jeffrey says, nor will I, since I also know what that is. And Donald says, we have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Jeffrey says, yes, we do. Come to think of it, I guess this is like maybe some kind of pictures. And Donald says, enigmas never change. Have you noticed that? Jeffrey says, as a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you. Trump, a pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday. And may every day be another wonderful event. Okay, by the way, that's neither here nor there. I don't know what to make of it. Donald Trump's like, that doesn't even sound like me. It doesn't even make sense. Elon Musk echoing that. And yet they went big time with some article then sort of suggesting that Donald Trump is part of all this. And Donald Trump fired back with, you know what? I look forward to getting Rupert Murdoch to testify in my lawsuit against him and his pile of garbage newspaper, the Wall Street Journal. That will be an interesting experience. Oh, and here's another. He was really angry. He said the Wall Street Journal and Rupert Murdoch personally were warned directly by President Donald J. Trump, referring to himself in the third person, that the supposed letter that they printed by President Trump to Epstein was a fake. And if they printed it, they would be sued. Mr. Murdoch stated that he would take care of it, obviously did not have the power to do so. The editor of the Wall Street Journal, Emma Tucker, was told directly by Caroline Leavitt and the president that the letter was fake. But the editor didn't want to hear that. Instead, they went ahead with this false, malicious, and defamatory story. Anyway, President Trump will be suing the Wall Street Journal, News Corp, and Mr. Murdoch shortly. The press has to learn to be truthful and not to rely on sources that probably don't even exist. President Trump has already beaten George Stephanopoulos, ABC, 60 Minutes, CBS, and others, and looks forward to suing and holding accountable the once great Wall Street Journal. It has truly turned out to be a, quote, disgusting and filthy rag, and why writing defamatory lies like this shows their desperation to remain relevant. If there were any truth at all in the Epstein hoax as it pertains to President Trump, this information would have been revealed by Comey, Brennan, Crooked, Hillary, and other radical left lunatics years ago. It certainly would not have sat in a file waiting as Trump won 3 elections. Is another example of fake news. Okay, so he's mad, he's angry, he's suing, and he has every right to be pretty mad because, as he said here, they're printing a fake story, a fake letter. I did not say this. These are not my words. He writes, not the way I talk. Also, I don't draw pictures. I told Rupert Murdoch it was a scam and that he shouldn't print this story, but he did it anyway. And so I'm going to sue his you-know-what off and that third-rate newspaper. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Elon weighing in saying, yeah, you know what? It didn't really sound like him at all. Caroline Leavitt also pointing this one out, that the Wall Street Journal published a hatchet job article on a fake birthday letter that is supposedly from 2003. And this is like the Steele dossier all over again. Russia, Russia, Russia. The Wall Street Journal refused, she said, to show us the letter and conceded they didn't even have it in their possession. They didn't have it in their possession. What the heck are they doing printing a story like this when they don't even own or have the letter? Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. So here's the article. Here, I just want to show you who the reporters are on it. Somebody named Khatija Sanftar or whatever, and then there's Joe Palazzola. And the reporters apparently Here they are. Here's the two of them. Here's their Twitter accounts. Khadija Salfdar and Joe Palazzolo. And one of the things that kind of came up, and a woman named Susan Crabtree reported this on Twitter, is that these are not necessarily what you'd call really experienced reporters, at least not one of them. Not one of them, because one of them actually came from Glenn Simpson's wife's publication. Glenn Simpson was the founder of Fusion GPS. Fusion GPS hired a whole bunch of ex-Wall Street Journal reporters to go and dig up dirt for political candidates. And one of the dirtiest things they ever concocted was, of course, the Steele dossier that was purchased from Hillary Clinton's campaign via Perkins Coie, her law firm, who hired Glenn Simpson's Fusion GPS, who hired Christopher Steele, who hired some more people, blah, 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 blah. You see how this goes. Well, anyway, his wife had a similar kind of operation, and this guy who wrote this story in the Wall Street Journal, he came from Glenn Simpson's wife's publication, Main Justice, which was sort of a similar type of thing where they were doing this quote-unquote due diligence to find stuff. Trump is now suing, of course, the Wall Street Journal. The Twitter person writes over the quote-unquote blockbuster letter story, arguing that it's bogus and that they never should have showed it. And I think he'll actually get somewhere. One of the points, again, being uncovered is that Joe, I guess, really doesn't have a ton of experience. He's been at the Wall Street Journal for a while, but prior to coming to the Wall Street Journal, where he covered, by the way, the U.S. Justice Department, he had been working for this other guy's publication, the wife's publication. So it makes you kind of question, if you would, the chops, and it makes you question, especially as he was covering Department of Justice, just exactly who's at play and why. And I think it's going to become increasingly a bigger story. The other wrinkle to this is you got to ask yourself, if Murdoch is really trying to take Trump down, and he may be, is he trying to enlist the support of some people along the way? Don't forget, when Tucker left, he admitted that the Murdochs, Lachlan, wanted him to run for president against Trump, and I'm just wondering if they still want that. Let me show you this clip.
There's no one who hates Trump more than the Murdochs. I got fired in April of 2023. In May of 2023, they asked me to run for president against Trump and said they would back me. Obviously, I'm not running for any, I would never get elected anyway. Plus, I like Trump. I mean, that's the funny thing is I actually genuinely, I get frustrated. I'm frustrated now.
So hold on. I'm sorry.
Trump.
You just said that, and they asked you to run for president against Trump, the Murdochs.
Yeah. Lachlan Murdoch said, you should run for president. We'll back you. The whole thing, the whole
Fox News apparatus.
And not just Fox, but, Wall Street Journal.
All of their
Post,
papers,
Times
everything.
London. Absolutely, yeah, we'll back you.
And that came right from...
You should do that. I was already gone. They'd already canceled my show. I was still under contract, but they canceled my show. You should run. We support you. You should run.
We want to stop Trump.
Yeah, well, he was running.
Okay, so that's kind of interesting. All right, think about that for a second. And now ask yourself, does Tucker maybe have any inclination? Like, did he think that maybe... I think if Tucker ran back then, he wouldn't have stood a shot against Donald Trump, and he knew that. But, and I'd like to think that he doesn't want to run, because I actually think that journalists do a better job being journalists as opposed to being people in the administration. But did you notice how he really went after the whole Epstein thing at Charlie Kirk's event? And I was like... Look, and I get it. I know that we want answers and we should get answers. And by the way, I think we're going to get more answers than we thought we were going to get. But the way that he pushed for it and the way he, went after Ben Shapiro and some other things that happened had my antenna up. And I was very concerned. I actually said to one of my producers, I'm worried that there's some kind of deliberate effort here. I don't know what it is. But don't forget, the company that sells Tucker's podcast now was actually bought by Murdoch, and Lachlan wanted this because they want to have some kind of presence in the new media world. And so knowing that they asked him once before, are they looking at this and saying, this is an opportunity? This is an opportunity. Maybe you take it. Watch.
Notice everyone's been talking about Epstein tonight, and I want to kind of differ from the crowd a little bit in saying that I watched Ben Shapiro yesterday, and now, before you boo me, I thought he made a really solid point. He's like, it happened a long time ago. Who cares? And by the way, we should trust the government. and whatever the bureaucrats tell us. And by the way, it's wrong to ask a lot of unauthorized questions. So I just want to go on the record to say I think that's absurd. And it's exactly
okay. So he went on and on and on, and it became a bigger issue. Remember, as I said, the company that sells his podcast, that puts the ads into the podcast, it's actually called Red Seat Ventures. And I have a lot of friends over there, whatever. It kind of took me by surprise when Fox went and bought Red Seat Ventures. So now they're controlling the advertising stream that's going into, say, Tucker's show or Megyn Kelly's show. Watch her also taking a different tactic. And believe me, we're all kind of like, oh, with Pam Bondi, if I see her on TV one more time, I'm going to throw a fit. So I don't totally disagree with Megyn. But the way that this was brought up and put onto a bigger stage and a bigger scale was pretty, at the time, I thought alarming, only because of the danger it represents for Donald Trump.
I blame Pam Bondi. I'll tell you why, okay? I have nothing, yes, incompetence, yes. She is the reason that things are unraveling around this story right now that virtually all of the Republican Party cares deeply about. Okay, so what they're saying now is consistent with what they've said since they joined the office, and that is one of the many reasons why this scandal is squarely on her, and I'm telling you.
Okay, but it's not really on her. Because ultimately, and we talked about this, it comes back to Donald Trump. And so you're going after Pam Bondi, fine, but does that eventually lead to you going after Donald Trump? Now, I like Bongino, don't get me wrong, he's a longtime friend, and I consider him the salt of the earth. I think he's got real reservations about everything and didn't like kind of getting thrown to the wolves, so to speak. But the pile-on effect is what has me really, really, really curious, especially given that, well, one, we know that Tucker did not like Donald Trump. Just look at the text messages that were released, okay? A lot of them where he just went on and on about, oh my gosh, he couldn't stand the guy. He couldn't wait till he was out of office. And then don't forget what happened back in 2016. This was actually orchestrated by the Murdochs, and they helped feed Megyn, as I understand it, and look, I used to work there, questions to help, quote unquote, take him down. Watch.
Mr. Trump, one of the things people love about you is you speak your mind and you don't use a politician's filter. However, that is not without its downsides, in particular when it comes to women. You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't.
He had a good comeback on that one. Anyway, the point being that there was a very deliberate effort by the Murdochs to take him down before, and then again in 2020, and perhaps, I don't know, the train had left the station in 24, and there, this is just my suspicion. I'm wondering if they're doing this through back channels. They're not doing it through Fox News, right? Because then the Fox News ratings would plummet. We saw that. Remember when Newsmax was crushing Fox? Well, they don't want that to happen, but they have other ways to go about this. And so then the question becomes, are they using the Wall Street Journal, and are they using some of their quote unquote talent that might be able to help drive this wedge? And they are their talent. That's the irony of it all, right? Both of them left Fox. And by the way, I have other friends over there that left Fox as well, and somehow they're all back working for Fox. I'll tell you, this is the beauty of independence. I love my independence here on the Trish Regan Show. So thank you for all of that. But I just question the motives of what's going on. Why do you want to tear the whole thing down? Look, I got to tell you, I give Anna Paulina Luna credit. She tweeted something out. She has been, and I actually know through sources, she has been working aggressively, very hard at the White House all week with the president to try and figure out a solution to this whole thing. Because don't forget, she's in charge of, in the House, unveiling all of these classified documents. And so she is privy to a lot of this. And she's basically going through this with a fine-tooth comb to say, listen, can we get some of this stuff out? Maybe to, satiate people, but also to put some of this rumor mongering to rest. And so sure enough, after her diligence and hard work with the president, we saw Pam Bondi just last night say, President Trump, we were ready to move forward. Today, this was last night, to unseal the grand jury transcripts. So some of this should be coming coming forward very soon, and I consider that a good thing. But, it shouldn't have to come to this. It really shouldn't have to, you guys. And I do worry that there is an effort underway to kind of take him down. I mean, how weird is it that James Comey his daughter was the one who was in charge of the investigation into Epstein in the first place? Or how weird is it that she was also in charge of Diddy? Like, this stuff is all sort of bizarre. I do think that if they had something way back when, they would have gone with it, but they don't really have anything. They don't think they have, and they don't know what they have. And so they're just seizing this opportunity because they can tell that the base is mad and they want to run with it. But I'll tell you, it's not working. It's not going to work, because you look at the poll numbers, any which way you slice it, he is rallying. You know what? The base is with him. We're with him. We know the success that's happening, and here's the numbers. CNN had to report them.
I mean, look, I think this one surprised me a bit because of all these complaints online going after Trump and the Epstein files. You might think his approval ratings were going down with Republicans. If anything, they're going up. Republicans who approve of Trump, look at our CNN poll. The prior one, 86%. The one out this week, 88% were Republicans. How about Quinnipiac? The prior poll, 87% approve of Republicans. This week out, 90% with Republicans. If anything, Donald Trump's approval rating has gone up since this whole Epstein saga started. He is at the apex, or close there too, in terms of his popularity with Republican voters, Epstein files, complaints, or not.
You just proved that not everything online is real.
Yes,
in real life.
Who knew?
Amazing.
Twitter and X are not reality.
Look, I'll tell you, they're with him. Ken Langone, the founder of Home Depot, coming out and saying, this guy is fantastic. I love him. I love him. I love him.
Look, let me tell you right now, I am sold on Trump. In fact, I'll say this. I think he's got a good shot at going down in history as one of our best presidents ever.
That is a real turnaround, because you didn't want to vote for him.
I tell you the reason. I want to tell you, I'm a believer. What I'm seeing happening is absolutely nothing short of a great thing. And there's a beat. People are walking with
great. You know what? So the base is happy. The Democrats are plunging. The CNN poll showing they're at 27%, barely. I mean, bad.
There's this new CNN polling out today that says quite a bit. Just 28% of Americans view the Democratic Party favorably. And the context of that is the lowest mark for Democrats in the history of CNN's polling, going back to 1992. And for Democrats, they have a lot more work to do to win back favorability within their ranks, within the party, than Republicans do.
But you know what? He's going to continue to triumph. He really will. Mark my words. Mark my words, guys, because he is killing it. And you know what? You look at the economy, you look at all the good stuff, you realize that inflation is coming down, and this is what we need, okay? This is exactly what we need. Boom! We just got some breaking news here on the Trish Regan channel. We have hit 900,000. Leslie knew this was going to happen. Leslie, yesterday, one of our faithful viewers who has been here from the very beginning, she was saying she wasn't going to make it today, and she knew we'd be at 900,000. So this one's for you, Leslie. Thank you so much for all you guys have been doing to keep this channel going strong. We just crossed over 900,094. Wow. I mean, we're going to get to 1 million. We're going to get to 1 million really, really soon. So thank you, guys. This is the future, okay? As we started the show and we talked about the mess that CNN is and the mess that CBS is, and all of these sort of staid, boring, network-controlled, managed platforms. This is a totally different operation right here. I mean, sometimes you got to take the good with the bad, right? Occasionally. We just got the camera. We got a new camera, right? And finally it's in focus. But that was a whole thing. We've been through it all together. You know it, right? You know it. But, we're like a big family here on the Trish Regan show and on this channel. And I so appreciate your patience and your love of truth, because we are on the front lines of history together and we really need to protect what's going on. This is a president who can do so much good and already has done so much good. And there's going to be a lot of people, including people on the inside, that want to take him down. And I'm just telling you, we can't let it happen, okay? Together, we are a force. We are an army. Let's make sure that we keep going strong. Thank you so much for all you do. God bless America. God bless you. Thank you for the 900,000. I'm going to be joining you. Charlotte, thank you so much. I'm going to be joining you actually on the road. I've got some work to do where I'm going to be traveling, but I am back here still again, live tomorrow, believe it or not, on a Saturday. Thank you. Oregon with me, Oregon of all places. It's good to have you guys here. We will talk again tomorrow live.